Full disclosure, I am not a strong man. On the strongman scale, with James Ellsworth on one end and Brock Lesnar on the other, I'm about here. I'm sub James Ellsworth. I look up at the glass ceiling of James Ellsworth with the pale, gangly hope that one day I, Adam Pacitti, might be as strong as him. I will never get there because of my twin loves of pizza and weeping fragile tears into my collector's edition Mankind mask. The reason why I'm telling you this is because A, my therapist tells me that it's important to tell you, and B, because during my career as a person who has met and fancied many wrestlers, I've been put in some of these submission holds, and guys, I don't know how and I don't know why wrestlers do their job. Wrestling is predetermined, yes, but everything they do hurts, and that goes double for submission holds. Turns out the only way to tell the in-ring story that someone is legit struggling through a submission hold is to actually cause severe physical pain, and these are some of the deadliest in the history of the business. I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic.com, and here are the top 10 greatest submission moves in WWE history. Join us. Number 10, the sleeper hold. Okay, now hold on, you're probably thinking, come on now, the sleeper hold is top shelf nonsense. It doesn't hurt, it's essentially two men cuddling for a bit. While it's true that the sleeper hold, a variant of the rear naked choke, has seen its status over the years slip from being Roddy Piper's actual genuine finish move to mostly just a rest hold used by wrestlers to take a well-needed breather in real life. But the sleeper hold is one of the most devastatingly efficient ways of ending a fight. When you properly lock someone in a sleeper hold, it's a blood choke. The arms of the wrestler cut off blood flow in the arteries in the neck, depriving the brain of oxygen and causing the victims to pass out in moments. If wrestling were truly real, all matches would consist of dudes scrambling to cuddle their opponents from behind, and the bouts wouldn't last longer than a minute. That's how effective the sleeper hold can be. It was one of the first proper submission moves that rose to prominence in professional wrestling, and it deserves to be treated with way more respect. Samoa Joe understands that, with his Coquina Clutch being a variation of a rear naked choke. Number 9, the Camel Clutch. Innovated by Gory Guerrero, Eddie's dad, the Camel Clutch, like the sleeper, is one of the most enduring holds in the history of the business. The perpetrator climbs on the victim's back, clasping their hands under the chin and talking as hard as they can, causing blistering pain to the neck and lower back. For some reason, it's the go-to move of the dastardly foreigner, with the move being handed down to non-native rascals like the Iron Sheik, Muhammad Hassan, and most recently Rusev's Accolade. It's a vicious son of a bitch whose impact has refused to lessen over decades and decades of use. Also, sometimes Rusev locks it in on two people. It's called the Stackolade, and it's the best. Rusev is one of the best, even if he is a very bad man who wasn't even born in this country. Number 8, the Dragon Sleeper. The inverted rear face lock is absolutely grisly. The wrestler stands behind his victim, wraps his arm around their neck and pulls back. Their head disappears into the crook of their arm, leaving the audience to view the horrible talk on their opponent's exposed neck. In terms of moves that look like they definitely could and definitely will kill you all the way dead, the inverted rear face lock is right up there. Look at it! It looks like his goddamn head is about to come off. Why the Jesus hell would anyone ever be a wrestler? Just write list, mate. It's much safer. The Dragon Sleeper is perhaps the most grueling variation of this hold. It hasn't seen all that much use in WWE, but Daniel Bryan's had it in his arsenal because, of course he did, he's Daniel Bryan, but it was used most regularly by Jamie Noble. He would talk his opponent's head back and wrap his legs around them in a body scissors. It is terrifyingly nasty. Also, Drew Gulak uses it, and Drew Gulak is great. Number 7, the Regal Stretch. This is not the STF. The STF, or at least the version that John Cena uses, is absolute nonsense. Lock it in, John. You made Shawn Michaels tap out with this move in the main event of WrestleMania. Why do you refuse to lock it in, you stubborn bastard? You're just lying on top of someone and squeezing your head with their arms. Now, while I wouldn't like John Cena lying on top of me, he looks heavy and I'm made of crepe paper and twiglets, his version of the STF is terrible. William Regal's version, on the other hand, is absolutely magnificent. He pulls his opponent's arm back, reaches through and wraps his hands around their head and bloody wrenches them to death. Look, John, that's what locking it in looks like. Look at it, John. I'm not carrying on until you look at what William Regal is doing. Number 6, the Rings of Saturn. The shoulders are a sorely underused part of the body when it comes to targeted submission holds. Zack Sabre Jr. knows that. Look at what he's doing here to poor Noam Dar. Poor Noam Dar, how will you text Alicia Fox when you're dead? One wrestler who knew precisely how painfully you could destroy someone's shoulders was the criminally underrated Perry Saturn. His finishing hold, the Rings of Saturn, was brutal. He would force his opponent to the floor and wrench both of their arms behind their back, doing his level best to make the arms swap position. Incredibly simple and incredibly effective. Most recently, the Rings of Saturn was adapted by War Kid Neville, who added a crossface element to it, not only seeking to dislocate his victim's arms, but also wrench the back. filthy. Number 5, the figure 4 leg lock. Woo, etc. Few holds are as synonymous with a beloved superstar than the figure 4 leg lock is for Ric Flair, which makes it all the weirder that he rarely ever actually won matches with it. I've actually been put in this one, and bloody hell it kills. Your leg is wrapped around and bridged over your other leg, with pressure from your opponent forcing searing pain through the bent ankle. There's something horrible about someone trying to snap one of your limbs. There's something doubly horrible about someone using your own legs to try and break themselves. That's adding insult to severe ankle injury. Flair inherited the hold from the original Nature Boy Buddy Rogers, and he passed it down to his own spiritual successor in the form of The Miz, ? But the hold's been used by many over the years. What's even nicer is that the hold is essentially 2 moves in one, because if the victim manages to roll onto their front, that reverses the pressure onto their opponent's legs, making the hold a fantastic opportunity for roller coaster storytelling. Number 4, the ankle lock. Submissions don't have to be complicated, they just have to hurt like balls. Step right up, the ankle lock. It's one of the most promiscuous moves in wrestling, used by Ken Shamrock, Kurt Angle, Jack Swagger. It's often associated with amateur wrestlers or UFC fighters because it's simple, effective, dangerous, and requires almost no complicated theatrics. It's just to do grabbing your ankle and wrenching it sideways. Everybody's twisted their ankle at some point in their life. They know exactly how sensitive that part of the body is, which makes the ankle lock one of the most relatable, credible, and easy to comprehend moves in professional wrestling. Once it's cinched in, there isn't a man, woman, or child watching that would disbelieve a wrestler being forced to tap from the pressure. Number 3, the Crippler Crossface. It's more commonly remembered today in the form of Daniel Bryan's label/yes/no lock, adding an extra element of the wrench shoulder, but nothing quite compares to the version of the move used by the Canadian crippler Chris Benoit. Growing up watching wrestling, if there was one move that I would never want to be locked in, one move that actually gave me nightmares, it was the Crippler Crossface. I think part of it is the way the hands are clasped across the face. He's not only going to pop your shoulder out of its socket, but he's going to crush your bloody nose too. Also, the face of the wrestler being obscured from the camera only added to the psychological impact of the move. It just looks incredibly, despicably painful. Tap or snap. Number 2, the Sharpshooter. This is a very important point for the wrestlers and commentators in modern WWE. The Sharpshooter does not hurt the wrestler's legs, it hurts their back. Please stop saying that Natalya is softening up her opponent's legs so she can lock in the Sharpshooter. That's not where the pain is. That being said, the Sharpshooter, or Scorpion Deathlock if you're a WCW guy like me, is one of the most iconic moves in wrestling. It was the primary weapon of one of the greatest technical wrestlers in the history of the sport, and its association with Bret the Hitman Hart has elevated the move to the point where it's an actual national treasure in Canada. Whenever WWE is north of the border, someone contractually has to lock in the Sharpshooter, even if it's not in their standard repertoire. That's how over the move is. It's been used by Shawn Michaels, The Rock, Cesaro, Natalya. It will never stop being one of the most popular submissions in wrestling. Number 1, the Lion Tamer. Not the Wolves of Jericho, not a Boston Crab, the goddamn Lion Tamer. And there's a very important difference. The Wolves of Jericho is all well and good, it's over, and occasionally it looks like it hurts when Jericho can properly lock it in with some height, but the Lion Tamer is a masterpiece. It's like the Wolves, but Jericho lifts his opponent up, bends his knee behind their head, and properly bends his victim in half, applying pressure not only to the back, but torquing the neck in a way that looks legitimately gruesome. Jericho doesn't lock the Lion Tamer in nearly enough in WWE, and to be honest, I can understand if people in the back straight up refuse to take it. After all, Jesus Christ, look at it! But he has done it in recent years, tapping out Neville with the submission at Beast in the East. It's beautiful, and the fact that it's a rare treat makes it our personal preference for the greatest submission move of all time. And that's our list. Did we miss any out? Let us know in the comments below, and you can follow me on Twitter here. You can pledge to our Patreon at patreon.com/cultaholic. And most importantly, don't forget to hit subscribe and join us.